podcast of all things kayak fishing. Where your hosts are a bunch of long-time fishermen who decide to get in the kayak fishing world, and guess what? They're taking you along for the ride. So buckle in and welcome to Paddle and Fin.
Hello and welcome back to the Paddle and Fin podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Jay.
And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have the champion, the one, the only, Ron Champion. Welcome to the show, Ron. How you doing this evening,
Welcome,
my friend?
buddy.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate the introduction.
Absolutely,
No problem.
man. Absolutely. I mean, I saw you once at the FLW KBF Open, and I was like, "That's Ron Champion.
Yeah.
That's Ron Champion over there." And I actually drove through the parking lot. I was ramp checking, like I was gonna go to a spot down on the south end, and I was like, "That's Ron Champion's truck. I should run over there and take a selfie." And I was like, "No." I heard he's a big dude. He'll come around the corner and, "What are you doing by my truck?" You know.
I would have gave you a hug, man.
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. So it's cool, man. I've always wanted to talk to you. I know you and Jay have met before, and we're looking in or gonna love jumping into this one tonight. You know, it's you're a very well respected man in the industry and a wealth of knowledge. So I think this is going to be interesting.
I appreciate that. You know, I do my best, man. I try to be just try to be good to everybody. You know, I think our sport, and I say our sport, I talk about fishing, not just kayaking.
Yeah.
I think it needs that. I mean, because, I'm no better than anybody else. I treat everybody the same. I'm just out there fishing and just trying to make it, like you guys and like the next guy, so it's, our sport needs that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, man.
I would definitely say you're a good steward, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I try. I do my best. Everybody has flaws, and I'm probably mess up every now and then. I try to do my best, and I always will. I don't ever want to put a negative light on on fishing or kayak fishing. It means too much to me.
Absolutely. Well, we'll start off with the original question that we ask all guests, man. How did you get started in this lovely game of kayak fishing?
Wow, yeah. I've been a tournament fisherman, my whole life. All the way back. I bought I'd have to start, back when I was a kid, man. My dad took me fishing all the time. I had an uncle, my Uncle David, which was my mom's brother. He would come and get me and take me fishing out of his boat. We didn't have a boat, but my uncle would come get me and take me fishing. And I remember those trips, man. I thought it was cool. I'm not standing on the bank. I'm on the water. We're floating.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal, man. When I was a kid. I'm 46 years old. So we're talking back in the late 70s, early 80s, and not a lot of people had boats back then.
Yeah.
That's something, you had to work hard to have that. But just getting off that bank and getting out of that water, man, I loved it. There was a tournament series when I was a kid. It's called Take Kid Fishing Rodeo. And my dad would always take me. He actually borrowed my Uncle David's boat and would take me fishing. And I still remember that the very first tournament I did that with, I can still smell the water, how the water smelled. It like etched it in my brain.
That's awesome.
And I think when you're young, you have those moments. You never know what those moments are going to be that actually just etches in your brain. And that was just one of them, man. And God, I loved it. I mean, I loved fishing. And so I've always been fishing. When I was 18, ended up buying my first boat. And, I was a tournament angler, bass boat fishing, and did a lot of tournaments. I mean, fished a lot, did well too on the local level, up in Tennessee, which is where I was born and raised.
Sure.
And I had to step away from fishing for, a good while. Went through a bad divorce with my first wife, and had to rebuild my life. So I kind of stepped away, from any fishing. I didn't fish. I literally didn't fish probably for 10 years, man. Didn't even,
wow.
I mean, fast. Yeah. Yeah. Ended up having to get rid of my boat and just a lot of stuff, just kind of rebuild my life. And once I ended up moving to Nashville from my hometown and started back, doing some tournament fishing with a couple buddies of mine. And then we started like just really killing it, because I got everything back in order. And of course, I've met my wife now that we've been together for 14 years. We got 2 kids now. But yeah, I mean, I got back into tournament fishing and we was doing real good on the local level again up in Nashville around Old Hickory, Percy Priest, and I was doing a little bit of traveling and fishing. And that's when I met Chad Hoover through an outdoor business deal. It was a company that we kind of both had got involved in, and that's where we met. And I'd never heard about tournament fishing out of kayaks. And me and Chad, we just kind of become friends, because we're kind of a lot alike, in many ways. And he's like, dude, he said, man, this kayak thing, what I'm working on and what it's going to be, you really should think about this. Because he knew I was doing really good, and he knew that one of the guys I was fishing with too. And I was like, man, I've never even thought about fishing out of a kayak. I'm fishing out of a boat. I don't think I'd like it. He said, man, if you just tried it. I was like, well, I don't have a boat. He's like, oh man, I'll rig a boat up for you. I'll get you out. And there's this local club. They do like some, they'll have 20 people show up at the boat ramp. Just go fish it one time. So I did, man. In 2013, he rigged up a Commander 140 for me.
Nice.
And I just grabbed a few rods and went out and fished there it was a KBF TN, kayak bass fishing TN. Fished a little weekday tournament, and there was I bet there was 30 people that showed up at the ramp. Everybody's in kayaks, and I was like, okay, it's kind of cool. Went out and enjoyed it, man. Really did, and that I kind of caught the bug, man.
Yeah.
And, it was. It was kind of once I did that, fished a few of those events. I ended up the first. This would be 2014. It was the very first time that Hobie had their Hobie Bass Open Series tournament on Kentucky Lake, and I went up there and fished that tournament. And I figured out real quick that a Commander is not the boat you want to be out in the middle of Kentucky Lake in. Yeah. So. And I'd met AJ and Keaton and Morgan, those guys, and I told them I was like, I'll come back next year. I'll be in a Hobie. And sure enough, I got me a Hobie, and I've been in a Hobie ever since, man. And but I know that was a little bit long answer, but yeah,
that's fine. That's great, man.
I've always, it's fishing's always been inside of me. People ask me all the time, and that's kind of how Built to Fish came to light. It's like, man, you fish all the time. Like, when I see the hat you got on,
it's the same one I bought from you, man, at the championship 2 years ago.
I appreciate that. But I had people ask me, all the time, and I said it one day, and it just kind of stuck. He's like, man, you fish all the time. Why? What do you love about it? I said, that's God, how God made me. He built me to fish, and it just kind of stuck.
That's awesome.
And I was like, all right, I got to do something with that one day. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I can side with you on that, man. It's like I got away from fishing for a gap in time just because of life.
Yeah.
And came back even harder.
Yeah.
Sure. It's funny. Like I've told this to many people before. Some people call me all the time, or they message me, hey man, what can I do? I try to help guys out as much as I can. Everybody wants to know. So I've had success. I have sponsor success. I work hard for that. And I tell them, I was like, this is my second chance. I had a chance back in the 90s. I had a boat deal with Ranger. I was doing well when I was young. And when I had to step away, that was a hard thing, man. I literally thought I would have been doing this a long time ago. And, I never thought my second chance would be fishing out of a piece of plastic. But hey, I'll take it for what it's worth. It's like, I'm not going to let this one slip away, and I'm in a position, in my life now where I can devote the time, because it's the fishing side of it, the tournament side, it's still, I love that, but I love the business side of it,
Sure.
As much as I do anything. I love working with companies. I love, designing stuff. I love, just love, I love the industry. And, that's my long-term goals, is being around. I always tinker with the tournaments and stuff, but my long-term goals is, the business side of the fishing. I want to help grow this sport and create more opportunities for people than what I had in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. I mean, I think it's funny. I think we've all had that situation where, fishing has gotten away from us at a point and we find it back again. And like Jay said, you just come back at it harder. And, yeah, it's crazy, man. I mean, if you would have told me that, I'd be traveling around the country fishing tournaments and, doing this podcast and stuff, 5-10 years ago, I'd tell you were out of your mind. Like, you were probably as drunk as I was at that point in time, like, what? But it's crazy, man. So here's a question I thought of as you were talking about this, because you have such a big boat background. Big boat background. Like, what is the biggest difference for you that you see between the boat world and the kayak world? Or maybe there isn't a difference. Me and Mike Iaconelli talked about this a lot. Mike's a good friend of mine. I've been on his show several times, and he's asked me the same thing. And I know fishing is fishing, man. Sure. Because Mike's doing kayak stuff with Hobie, and there's a lot of elite guys that are doing some kayak stuff now, and which is great. I think it's awesome. It just helps get more recognition for us as a whole. But fishing is fishing. Whether or not you're fishing from the bank or you're fishing from a kayak or you're fishing from a boat, it's still fishing's fishing. And so I mean, there's. If you're talking about the people, there's good and bad people all across the board. Sure.
That's you're always going to have that.
Yep.
I'll say one thing. I've noticed, from the time that I've been, involved in this since 2013. The first few years, it was very. And it's still, it's a good time. You go to the events, it's very friendly. Guys are real open. They're talking and stuff. But and y'all guys probably noticed too, the last couple of years, that have gotten some, you're getting a few guys that are coming in that's kind of changing the face of that. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say cutthroat, but, people are being very keyboard warriors.
Sure.
You don't say that, social media and stuff. And everybody's got these big, you got some big personalities, and guys are, I think it's kind of hurt, it's hurt our sport a little bit from what it was, in the very beginning. But, it's, we're still, this sport's still a baby, it's still young. We have the opportunity to mold this sport, any way that we want to, and it's going to take, some of the top guys, and the industry guys, just like knowing you guys, that has a big outreach, it's kind of up to us to kind of, to keep it good, not go down that bad road.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We appreciate that. We always, me and Brian talk about it all the time too. It's, and we don't even like to go into detail like even on the podcast, even if there is, we'll talk about something vaguely and move on, because we all know it's there. We see it.
Yeah.
But it's like all you can do is like persevere and just, try to send a more positive message, because I think there's a lot more positivity out there than there is negativity.
There is.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of the same guys that are doing this and doing that. And, what a lot of those guys need to understand too, if you're trying to make something of yourself in this industry, and that stuff is still going to be around,
it's going to haunt you.
Next year,
stuff's
going to pop back up. It'll hurt you if you're trying to get sponsored. Some guys could care less about it. Some guys could care less about the tournament side of it. And if that's not your thing, why are you even commenting on it?
Right. Right.
It's just like I shake my head sometimes on the stuff I see. But hey, I'm doing me, man. I'm trying to build myself, my brand, and help build this industry. like a lot of guys are, and that's just a route I'm going to take with it.
I dig it. You heard it from the champion himself, ladies and gentlemen.
You're doing everything right, Ron.
Yeah.
So not maybe not everything. Some things happen. It's not
okay, well, at least right here, right now, the message.
So
try to keep a good message.
There you go. So I know that was one of the questions Jay had tonight. You talked about your brand, so Built to Fish. I mean, how did that all come about? I know you briefly mentioned that you came up with the name, and then where it's kind of gone so far. I mean, every tournament I go, I see Built to Fish, everything going every which way, so that's kind of cool.
It is cool, man. I've I wanted it to be, something that's for all fishermen, not just kayak fishermen.
Sure.
I want it to be fishermen. It's like I said earlier. I just in conversation, I said it, and that's how the name came. Somebody had asked me, why I love fishing so much, and I just like that's how God made me, built me to fish, and it just kind of stuck. And so I started thinking about it, and me and my wife, we talked, and I was like, what? I said, I think I'm gonna because I do merchandise and stuff for a living, graphic design work. I mean, that's our company. I do it for a lot of people. I make a lot of brands. I mean, I do make Yak Attack stuff, Bonafide, do stuff for Feel Free. I mean, tons of fishing companies, hunting. I do a lot of stuff in the hunting industry. Our company, we do big stuff, big companies. And so, that's kind of my background. And, I was like, I got a chance. I can make me a cool logo, and see how it's perceived. And man, it did really well. And it's just like anything, the more time you put into it, the more you get out of it. And I wish I had more time to devote to it, but I have a busy schedule, with the fishing and the tournaments and sponsors and doing stuff for them. And my family is the most important thing, spending time with them. And so I do it as much as I can, and I appreciate all the guys that have the stuff and they wear it. And it's funny, a lot of stuff got out, pretty fast. It grew really quick, and a lot of good stuff got out, and guys started wearing it. And now a lot of those guys, some of their stuff's getting kind of wore out.
Yeah.
Man, this was my favorite hat. Do you have any more of these? And I'll be like, oh man, I haven't had that one since the very first time. He's like, oh, you gotta make it again. I was like, I promise I'll try. So, no, man, I appreciate the chance just to talk about it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I dig it.
Yeah, I was wondering, are you going to be bringing out any sun shirts?
I thought about it. This is just the second year of Built to Fish.
Okay.
We started out last year, national championship. I had a bunch of stuff we brought in. Actually, it's been just a little over 2 years, but the national championship was kind of the first time we set up a booth space last year. This year we did it again, had a new shirt to do. And it's like stuff like that, like performance wear and stuff, it's expensive. It really is. And where it's expensive is when you have to fork out, all that money for it, and it sets on the shelf, so t-shirts a little bit easier, hats have a quick turnaround, so yes, hopefully we'll get there eventually. But like I said, it's just the more I put into it, more time, the better. I've actually got several retailers that's actually want the stuff. They want it in stores, and I could put it in stores. But of course, as well as I do, it's with a small business, that every single dollar that, you're not bringing in, it's going to somebody else, man. It's tough,
Sure.
So we're just not there yet. Hopefully one day we'll get there. I really wanted to launch some other stuff. I've got some other ideas that will kind of go with, Built to Fish. Built to Apparel is the name of the company. Built to Fish was just an entity of it.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that we got plans to come out with. Just maybe if I win that national championship and win about $100,000,
Yeah.
I might have some money to invest in the company.
Don't you mean 50?
Yeah.
Once
Maybe
the government grabs this thing.
Who knows what they might forget to sign up for bonus bucks and get that.
There you go.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's a really nice logo. I dig it.
I appreciate it, man. That's the first thing a lot of people has said to me. Is that they're like, man, I love the logo. That's just branding. Branding.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing you can start with a company, and getting that brand out there. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can agree on that logo thing, man. I mean, we spent a lot of time working on our logo when it first started, and we had a family friend that similar to you, graphic artist, and we threw out a bunch of ideas and got some things back, and then went, oh, why don't you change this and change that, and then send it back, and then we got it, but it's cool, man. Now it's like people see that logo and they're like, oh, Paddle and Fin, that's cool.
That's right. Everybody wants a Nike swoosh, man.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
When you see that, you know what it is, and that's every company would love to have that recognition, So it's I mean, logo. I mean, it goes on everything. It goes on your letterhead. I mean, it's everything you have. Your logo goes on. So that is the most important thing to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love me a logo.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So let's talk some tournament fishing, man. I mean, obviously you're out there just grinding it away. I would say one of the most prestigious wins you've had was the 10, right?
Yeah, that was one that me and Corey actually tied. That was a little KBF debacle.
Yeah.
There's been a few of those throughout the years, but it was that was a cool one. Because and to get to share it with Corey. Me and Corey are really good friends. I love a guy like a brother. And but yeah, we got to share in that one. We had the same amount. Long story short, the printed rule, showed that I won. The rule that was supposed to be going into effect the next year, which was, I guess Chad had made an announcement at a tournament somewhere, and that was it. And that rule, shows that Corey was going to win. So, we were like, hey, I got no problem sharing it. If you want to share it, we split the money, so it worked out, well. But yeah, that was the 10. That was awesome. It was the first one, so I enjoyed that. And guess we, of course we filmed there, they had the cameras and stuff. That was a cool deal. Everybody was following along, so that was awesome. The Hobie Bass Open, that was a big win.
Yeah.
That in 2016, I got to go to the World, and I've had a few good ones. Had some top finishes. I've had some bad luck too, man. On some stuff.
Yeah, well, that's fishing, man. That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
Well, so I've had bad luck just with events and some way some things have went down. Me and Guillermo, we had a little deal out there at the the Tournament of the Champions. The year that he won it. And I actually came in second, and they ended up taking his whole entire 5 fish away from him, and then they took my biggest fish away from me, and it dropped me down to 4th place after telling me my fish were good.
Oh.
Yeah. There was a big write-up. You can find it. Chris Payne did a write-up about it. After it's been a couple years ago when that happened. So yeah, there's a lot. I've had some bad. That happened right before. That was in November, and then that deal happened at the 10 championship, where me and Corey tied, and I was like, man, this is some bad luck stuff, man.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Should have done better homework. I didn't know I was bringing up a bad subject. Oops.
Oh no, man. Like
he said it was cool.
Before I'm an open book, man.
No, that's crazy, man. I didn't know that whole deal went down. I was just floating through your Tourney X profile, and I had remember hearing that you had won the 10 or something somewhere along the lines. Yeah. I haven't been in this game as long as you and Jay, but yeah, that's crazy, man. I can see why you're saying that's bad luck. I mean,
yeah, it's just a few things, and there's a couple more, man. I could go into detail.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
there's been some stuff that's happened in tournaments, man. It's just like, man, I can't win for losing, dude. You know. And,
well, let me ask you that. Like when you're doing bad, let's say, just bluntly, do you get inside your own head? Because I am awful to myself, and I mean, with tournaments, dude, it's like I may be like, okay, mediocre, like I always say, but whatever. Once I start screwing up and nothing's going right, and I'm throwing everything in the kitchen sink, and I'm getting super irritated, just even if the wind, like even with the wind, Brian knows this, that starts blowing me out of position, and you're just like, I can't catch it up now, I'm at shore. It's like, where are you at on that?
If it's something that's completely out of my control, I don't let it bother me. Well, I get down on myself if I make mistakes that I know I shouldn't have made, type deal. But if it's out of my control, like those things like that, I wasn't happy in the beginning, but you just kind of got to deal with it, man, because that stuff, it'll really keep you down. I'll tell you, my wife, man, she keeps me. We're a team, we are a team. I mean, like if I'm having issues at a tournament, or I get homesick, I miss my wife and kids when I'm traveling. I mean, I do. I mean, and I'll be in a funk, and I'll call her. She'll tell me, she'll like, you got to get out of this. You're there for a reason. Go fish hard, and we're fine, we're okay. Get your focus, and so she kind of pulls me back down, and that helps, man. Having somebody to really, I don't want to say talk you off of a cliff, but just to kind of calm you down, and it feels good, that reassurance to know that I know they're okay, but it feels good to have somebody that tells you that, hey, we're good, go do your thing. And she tells me to go to tournaments sometimes when I wasn't planning on going. She's like, you ought to go. We can make it happen. I was like, so it's we definitely are a team. But I mean, I think it's just normal. Everybody gets in a funk sometimes, and you beat yourself up. But being able to get out of that funk quick and get back to what you're doing, that's key, man. I think it is. I've had so many tournaments, man, that I've won or had a strong finish literally within the last few minutes of the tournament. I mean, like last few minutes, getting that fifth fish or that last upgrade, and just not stop and just keep grinding, because you have to. You got to keep grinding. On and off the water, you have to keep grinding, because if you're not the one grinding, I promise you, there's somebody right there behind you that's willing to, and they'll just either take your spot or just, hey, move over and get out of my way. So.
Very cool. CJ, you just got to get past it, man. The wind is out of your control, bro. Just keep fishing.
Well, what I think it is too is like, there's such a psychological element to tournament fishing that, like, I think that's really where you get winners and losers. I mean, in that sense, like, if you're like me, you eat yourself alive, you're done. Yeah. And like, if you can't get out of it, you're done. And I've been there many times. And it's not so much that like everyone's beating you. That's just the second part of it. The first part of it is I want my 5 fish. I at least want my limit, and then I'll deal with the rest of it after that. It's like golf, I guess, right?
Yeah.
It's like you against yourself, and then against everyone else.
I think
that the side of everything, man. I think that's in any kind of sport. If you look at any kind of professional
Oh,
athletes, and they go through that kind of training. They have speakers that come in, they have books, tape, they read all this stuff. I mean, because it plays a huge role in that stuff. And like us, if we're traveling, we're fishing, we're traveling, going to a tournament, and like I said, you only have that you have 4 fish, and you got it, you need that 5th fish, and then you start thinking about, damn, if I don't get this 5th one, man, I've spent all this money, to get here. I'm just trying to win my entry fee back, cover my costs, you start thinking about all that stuff. And when you're thinking about all that, you're not concentrating on what you're doing, and boom, you get that bite, and that you just missed that fish. You've got to concentrate every single cast, every minute, every crank of that handle, man. You got to be laser focused.
Guilty.
Yeah,
it's I just struggled with that down in Missouri at the KBF trail event, man. But I think it was funny. Last week we talked with Dwayne Beatty, and I think he's put it best out of everybody we've talked to. Is the tournament aspect is 50% mental, 25% fishing, and 25% catch, photo, and release. Taking the photo of your fish, getting it uploaded, all that stuff. I mean, the mental aspect of it is just such a huge part, man. I mean, there's been so many times where it's like my brain just like spazzes out, and it's like, calm down, it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm. That's usually when you need that, where if you got a buddy that's fishing with you, somebody that like just kind of reassure you, hey man, we're good. We still got 4 hours left. Let's fish hard. Or I fish by myself, so I don't never have that.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, man.
I'm very, like, man, when we're off the water and we're at the tournament and the ramp and talking, I'm very like, hey man, what's up? How you doing? This and that. Once I get on that water, man, if you're paddling toward me, if you didn't say hi first, I probably didn't say hi to you. I'm so like, cause I'm literally like, I'm not there to carry on a conversation on the water.
Yeah.
If I'm in a tournament, man, I really try to stay like dialed in. I mean, I really do. And if I'm not, like, if I'm going from point A to point B, everything's running through my head. Okay, this is what I got. Where my time left. I mean, it's just constantly going. It never stops. But when we get off the water, man, hey, I'll help you load your boat and all that stuff. Yeah.
I'm gonna park at Ron's ramp. I'll need some help loading up next to tournament.
Get me load my heavy pro angler. Oh my god.
Yeah, never mind. I'm going to the next ramp up the hill.
Yeah, dude. Well, you know what? He does talk to people, because I remember at the championship, I was like working my way around and like I think it was Sugar Bay up in Kentucky Lake, and I caught you on the corner, and I was like, oh, there's Ron. I'm gonna go talk to him. I was like, because I just saw you hovering with your Supremo boat, your Torpedo, like in one spot, and I'm in like an HD, like, man, I'm just getting you. Well, you were there. We were getting manhandled by the wind, but I came over there to talk to you for, it was a pretty good amount of time. I think probably longer than you probably wanted to talk to me, but
well, tournament wasn't going nowhere, so I was just out there fishing at that time. I think that was day 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was a cold day, man. Yeah. I think I headed back to the truck at one point and had to get I just wasn't prepared with the right of socks, and I had to get in my truck and warm up for like an hour that day.
It always seems like, like the big events, it's hard to win. It's hard to win a tournament. I don't care. It could be a 10-man tournament on your home lake. It's hard to win a tournament. Yeah. And then when you get these big events and there's 200, 300, 400 people, somebody's going to just luck up and find a water. It's just going to happen, and it's those big events like that, man. It's just, there has to be, I mean, everybody's got skill, and, you put the time and work in, but there also has to be an amount of luck that's involved in winning a tournament, any tournament, really. Yeah, sure. I mean, things got to go your way, I mean, I don't know of any tournament that I've ever won that, there wasn't something happen that I was probably lucky that I got away with, or, type deal.
Sure.
And you get a fish flop off the board back in the water, and you didn't get a photograph on that fish. Most time that's the end of your tournament. It really is. It's rare that you're going to, fix that, with the next fish you catch type deal. So yeah, there's sometimes there's a lot of luck involved to win an event, but man, it's just be consistent. That's all I've ever wanted to be. Just be a consistent angler, and I pride myself on that. I stay consistent. I'm not going to win them all. You got to know that going in. But yeah, just be consistent, kind of be in the hunt, and your time will come. Big events happen, and been lucky to get a few of those myself.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and like to segue too, like when you were talking about when you are doing you're having difficult times, and you're getting on yourself, and you talk to your wife, a lot of the stuff that you post is very family oriented, and it's impressive. I mean, you don't really see it from a lot of the guys. There's only like a key, like I think really a handful that really put forth, like really just like legitimately have this family life that's so supportive and like so loving. There's so much strength there. It's like how like what do you attribute to that? Like what are the things that help you build something so big that, like I said, I see it, and I'm sure others do. I'm jealous of it in a way too, because I'm like, man, that's just amazing.
I tell my son this all the time. You have people, they'll ask you the question, when you was a kid, what did you dream about being? What did you want to be? And the only thing I ever wanted to be was a dad. It wasn't about a career. It wasn't about doing this or doing that. I mean, I wanted to be a dad. I mean, that's the one thing that I always dreamed about being. I wanted a family. I wanted kids. I mean, it truly is. That's the only thing. And man, my kids, my daughter actually, her birthday's tomorrow. She turns 9.
Nice.
And I have a teenager now. My son turned 13 this year, so no, man, that was, that's the one thing I've always wanted, and family is the most important thing to me. Fishing could go away. If something was happening, I could never fish again tomorrow, I'd still live the rest of my days out on this earth a very happy man. Because I have an amazing family. My kids are everything to me. I'll tell you somebody else that's the same way, and that's Matt Ball.
Yeah.
Matt Ball turned into one of my close friends. We got to spend some time with Matt and his family down at ICAST, and my daughter and his daughter, played together, every day, every night, and he's got an amazing family. He's an amazing man, and he, we talk a lot about this stuff, and yeah, man. I mean, it's that's important to me. I want people to know that, that yeah, I am a family man. I'm blessed. I'm blessed with a great family, and I'll never take that for granted. But yeah, I love my wife and my kids. You get me emotional. I get talking about those.
We're here to make you cry, buddy.
Everybody knows it. It's my kids, man. Yeah, I tell you something funny. We were just over in Australia for the Hobie Worlds. And my wife, when she went with me, and was over there for 2 weeks, but we went over there early to have, several days to, for me and her to enjoy. And so she got to hang around all the other ladies that came. There was like 5 of them, and they were hanging out, and everything was all revolved around fishing. Every night there was something fun going on. We're laying in the bed one night, and my wife, she's like, I want to do more fishing. And I was like,
what?
I was like,
I got an extra kayak, right?
Yeah. Got a whole fleet of the boats. I was like, what? She said, yeah, I think I want to start doing some more. Because I took her last, this summer, or I don't even remember when the last time I took her, but my daughter goes with me all the time. My daughter and my son, my daughter, you'll see her doing this one day. I promise you.
Yeah.
She loves it.
I've seen some of the videos, man. She looks like a stick.
She's a hoss. She's got a brand new pink and white fishing rod in there that she gets tomorrow, because that's what she asked for her birthday. We were in Bass Pro one day, and she saw that rod. She said, Daddy, that's what I want for my birthday. I was like, you sure? She's like, because I got 100 rod and reels in the garage. She said, that one right there. I was like, okay. Yep. So, yeah, she loves it. But, yeah, when my wife said that, I was like, who is this woman? 14 years, and now she's telling me she's going to start. But she was around it, and she got to kind of see that stuff. And, she came to the Pan American tournament this year, her and my kid, both my kids, and they got to see us win gold nations. And, silver and 3-man team. And, so she's been around it a lot more this year, even though I've been doing it a long time. She's kind of, she's been around it, and it's kind of where I think it's kind of rubbing off on her. And she wants to start doing some more fishing. So
cool.
I got, looks like I got some, I got some boats that's fixing to be coming this way. My daughter,
I know, right?
Yeah, my daughter wants an I-11, so that's one thing that we're going to get. She likes that. The blow up one, the inflatable from Hobie. It's an awesome rig. And we got plenty of pro anglers around here, and I actually just got rid of one of them, Brad Golden. He got my 2017 that we wrapped off. $100, man. He won a pro angler.
That's awesome.
Pretty good. Yeah.
What a brilliant marketing campaign that was.
It was cool. I put it out there before I did it, just to kind of see what kind of, what people thought. And man, it like I was like, I just need 30 spots, $100 a spot. That's, that's just like selling it for me. And man, there was like 15 people like in the first day that said, I want a spot. I was like, all right, we'll try it. If it don't happen, I'll just give everybody their money back. And it worked out, man. That was cool.
How long did it take to get the 30 people?
A week.
Oh,
yeah, because there like the first 15, there was like 10 of them that actually did it. Everybody's gung ho in the beginning. So my buddy Robert Weaker, he's got a little social media page. They do some stuff on, and he helped with it. He's got a good following with it. So the way it kind of took it out of my hands.
Cool.
Everybody knows that he does a legit deal, and so I let him do it for me. It was good. Yeah.
So how many times have you been to Worlds? You've been there a couple times, right?
Trip. Yeah, this is my second trip. The first one was when I won the Hobie Bass Open on Kentucky Lake, and we were the host country that year, and it was in Leeville, Louisiana. So we were down there fishing for redfish, trout, and flounder. Nice. And then last year when I won the Mike Iaconelli Celebrity Pro-Am, the kayak division up in New Jersey, that got my berth to Hobie Worlds 8, which was in Queensland, the Gold Coast in Queensland, Australia. And I've been to 2. I got to go do the Pan American Championship, this year as well. That's something else that's going to grow. I'm actually going to be helping those guys kind of grow that, and that was a good event too, So, and I've been in I'm fixing to start doing some more international fishing. I got some things I'm working on.
Cool.
Going to do some more traveling next year. I was going to do it this year, but I got some other obligations, some other tournaments that kind of come up that I wasn't able to. I'm not going to be able to go, but I'm going to China. I'll just go and throw it out there. Nice. Yeah, I really want to do that. I want to do more international fishing. I love fishing with those guys in other countries, man. It's such an honor to get a chance to do that. Yeah. And that's the side of what we kind of touched on earlier. Is it's going to take some influencers, whatever you want to call it, some guys that are kind of that has a big audience to help grow this sport. And to have a chance to go do that and put a positive light on it, that's what I want to do. And it'll just try to open up more doors for guys. Sure. It's not just about me. It's that's just like with the sponsors and stuff. I've got some really awesome companies behind me, and I work hard with those guys, and it's going to create some other opportunities from other kayak guys. And Spro being one of them. That was a big deal with Spro and Gamakatsu. Yeah. We just had a tournament on Gunnersville, first kayak tournament on Gunnersville with Spro. Yeah. And I think every one of the guys that was there will be back next year, and hopefully that doubles. They're really these companies are they know what we're trying to do. Sure. And there's companies that are willing to even do more. And I'm gonna do my best to try to help grow some more opportunities.
Heck yeah, man. How many guys did you have down there for that Spro event?
49, I believe.
Okay.
Good turnout.
I think it is. We were happy with it, because it's a very specific style tournament. It's everybody's fishing with a frog.
Yeah, that's cool.
So when you do, just a very specific event like that, I think 49 was a win. And we had to kind of battle with, KBF. The Three Rivers tournament had got canceled earlier this year, and they rescheduled it and put it on Lake Lanier on the same day as the Spro tournament. So that probably took. They had like 50 people in that one. I'm sure that one took, a lot of guys. I think we would have picked up at least another 10 or 20 guys, that went and fished that one. That probably would have came to the Spro event. But I think next year, we've got some ideas on some stuff that we want to do. I'll go ahead and put it out there because we really talked about. I think we're going to try to do a youth division with the next one.
That'd be awesome.
That way some parents can, this is the reason, like if I was going like, Hobie, they haven't had a youth division on Kentucky Lake with the Hobie Bass Open. But that's tough to, it's a lot of times that's ledge fishing and I wouldn't put my kid out in the middle of that lake ledge fishing, and not that I don't trust him as I don't trust the other boaters.
Right.
But when you talk about a frog tournament, most of the time you're in the back of a creek, you're, in these grass flats, where no boats can get around, you're kind of tucked away, so it'd be a little bit easier. It'd be a lot easier to have your kid fishing with you, doing something like that. So I think we're going to do a youth division next year, be a free entry for the kids. But that Spro tournament, man, for a $100 entry fee, or it was a $75 entry fee and then $25 big fish. Every single person that fished that tournament got a captain's bag that had a $75 value of frogs, got a Spro performance shirt.
That's awesome.
It was awesome. Every person that entered that. And then if you entered early, you actually got an extra bait. They gave you the big King Daddy frog. There was, and then they gave away a ton of tackle, at the end of the tournament. So it was, and it was 100% payback. And you got paid on the spot. They already had the checks made out. All they had to do is sign the name on them. So the top 9 guys that got paid, they left with their money in their hand.
That's awesome.
That should be.
That's awesome.
I was going to bring that up too. What was the, what pretty much was the culmination of that? Like, where'd the idea come from? Like, why is it just frogs? Spro makes other stuff.
Right. So Spro already does a frog only tournament, a boat tournament. They do it in October on Lake Gunnersville. And they have like 300 boats in that tournament. It's a massive tournament.
That's a lot of people.
And when I came on board with Spro, I'm in my second year with Spro and Gamakatsu, and I've been doing a lot of stuff with those guys. We're working on some stuff. I'll have some, stuff that I've helped design. That stuff that's coming. It was a big deal, to get that, get them. They recognize me, what I'm trying to do. Like I said, it's not just fishing. This is the tournament side of it. Man, I work as hard, off the water as I do on the water. Fishing's just a part of it.
Yeah.
And, we've had a lot of conversations about, I'd love to do. It's a good opportunity. They want to grow their brand in the kayak world. And they're already doing this boat tournament. Why don't we do a kayak tournament? So we started looking at dates, what was going to work, and we were trying to schedule, around, the Hobie series, around KBF, around, any of the, it being on Gunnersville, you didn't want to put it, on some of the local, because there's some really good local clubs around the area that had big turnouts. You didn't want to put it on one of their tournaments. So we had to kind of go with August, not the perfect month to do it, but if y'all looked at the numbers, there's some good fish caught.
Yeah.
92 point something inches, won it. And there was a lot of guys in the upper 80s, 5 fish. That's solid, man.
On just a frog bite.
Yeah, just a frog bite. And I'm telling you, like, it was, because I did live updates throughout, and just watching these fish come in, there was a lot of fish caught. And I on one of my live updates, I told them, I said, yo, you guys watch this leaderboard. There's going to be some big fish caught within the next 2 hours. Yeah. This was like 11 o'clock.
Right.
And they started rolling in. That sun gets high. There was no wind hardly at all. It really positions those fish, that are in the pads and up around docks. And, any kind of shadow, that's where they're going to tuck in, and that's perfect for a frog. And man, that's when Dwayne Wally ended up catching like that 22 something, and
I think it was like 22
23.
and a half.
Yeah, big. He ended up big. We had a let's see, I think his was 22 something, and we had several 21s. I mean, it was some good fish caught, all on a frog. It's a very level playing field. And I asked the guys at the tournament, what'd y'all think about this concept? Did you enjoy it? And everybody was like, heck yeah. 'Cause, I mean, you're not going to get beat by a guy, fishing with a pack of Cincos.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be in the mats, in the grass, on the docks, and throwing a frog, and who don't like catching a fish on a frog?
I was just gonna say that. I mean, like, I think I was just telling Brian this too. It's like I haven't really had a good frogging day in like probably over a year.
Yeah.
It just the opportunity. I mean, I passed one up recently, but I still did all right what I was doing. But I mean, I missed that frog bite so much.
Yeah, it's there should be, and I know they're looking at this, like your major tournament trails. They should look at, giving those opportunities to guys, setting a tournament on specific lake, early spring or late fall, just so guys can, get that frog bite or a good top water bite. Because those are fun. Those are just fun tournaments. Make the tournaments as much about the destination as it is it just being an event. Make it somewhere where you would want to go fishing if you wasn't fishing a tournament.
Yeah, right.
And then you look at it that you're not it's going to cost me $500 to go this weekend and do this tournament, but dang, I'm going to Lake Gunnersville in October. I mean, heck, that's an awesome trip anyway.
Yeah.
So even if you had a bad tournament, maybe your practice days were good, or you got to spend several days, doing some fishing that you maybe don't get to do on your local waters. So yeah. We're going to do some more, man. We possibly don't hold me to this, but we're kind of looking maybe doing a springtime of an event, a frog tournament next spring. And if the anglers support it like they did on this first tournament, it'll be more than one tournament a year. We might do two.
I could see you doing a lot more.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I didn't even fish it. I was there helping, but I had a great time, man, with the guys. And I know the guys that were fishing even the guys that didn't have a good day, they still had a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, we can still have tournaments that are competitive and chance to win good money, but it can also be fun, because when we first started all this, we all was having fun. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, this and that. It was about having a good time. If you won some money, hey, so be it. So, we need a little bit more of that. I'm all about the money too. Don't get me wrong. I want big events, but I would love to see some team tournaments, man. I'd like to see, where you can actually enter, 2 or 3 guys enter a tournament, fish together. That concept behind the Pan American deal was freaking awesome. That 3-man team, it was me and Cody and Milton and Craig Dye. That was our 3-man. I had so much fun. We shared so much knowledge, and even as a 3-man, but also as a team, because we were fishing for Nation's Gold. Yeah. And Jason Broach was up there, and Matt Ball. We all communicated and talked, and everybody sees a body of water differently. What have you had luck on? And it's really cool to break down a body of water when you got that many top guys doing it.
That's cool.
It was a lot of fun, man. It really was a lot of fun. It's one of the best. It's one of the most fun I've ever had at an event. I think because my wife and my kids got to come to that as well and see me and be a part of it. And man, that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I could only imagine the amount of knowledge passed around between that team right there.
Yeah, there was, but it was, God, we had so much fun, man. Laugh, and it was, and then, that's the reason, like I said earlier, I'm going to start doing more of this international stuff. just being around those other guys, you know, from the other countries.
Yeah.
And man, they showed so much respect to us. And, you know, and we did right back to those guys. And a lot of them had questions. Some of them had never caught a bass before, especially a smallmouth.
Right.
You know, they want to know, that's all they want to do. They want to catch a smallmouth, you know, and so you want these events to be fun for those guys as well. You know, I shared baits, I shared techniques, you know, with some guys. The Mexico team, they were awesome, man. They were fun. So I've got a lot of friends on that team now that we've become friends with on Facebook since the event. We had a good time up there.
That's
how
awesome.
it should be. That's how those events should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Making friends, making relationships, helping guys out. I mean, that's what the sport's all about, man. I could only imagine someday, Jay.
We put some information out before too long about the next USA Bass and where it's going to be, and you know, the opportunities of how to qualify for the team, because there's going to be some qualifying stuff for it. You know, the first one they had to kind of hand pick. Yeah. You know, and I'll tell you straight up front, I didn't get picked on the first go around. There was a few people that, you know, kind of passed on the opportunity, and that's how I got a chance to go. You know, nice. And I'm glad I got a chance to go. You know, and now they've asked me to actually be on the board and help, you know, kind of build this. You know, and I told them I would, and I'm gonna do my best to make it, to help make it something special, because I think it really can be something special.
Absolutely.
Anytime you get a chance to, you know, represent your country, man, it just puts a whole nother aspect on, you know,
yeah.
It's golly, man, I'll never forget the first Hobie Worlds I did, and I saw my boat and it had the American flag on it and had my name on it. It was emotional. I got emotional and kneeled down, you know, and just thanked the good Lord, you know, having that chance, opportunity, and you know, and I got fortunate enough to, again, I didn't shed no tears on this last time. We had a lot going on, man. I think I was just, God, it was, I enjoyed this one more. I think I enjoyed it as far as the fun aspect of it more than I did the first one, because I was so serious about it, the first one, because it's the unexpected, you know, dang, it's the Worlds, and you see everybody and you're just kind of like blown away at, you know, what they actually have put together for the anglers. And then this one, you know, it was still the same, you know, still you get those butterflies and stuff, but man, we had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
That's awesome.
I love my Aussies, man. I got a lot of friends over there. And those guys, I love those guys. Golly, boy, they can drink. I don't drink much, and I actually hadn't had a drink in almost 2 years, and I had a couple of drinks at ICAST, and then once we went to Australia, you know, it's kind of hard not to have you cold beverages with those guys.
Yeah.
We had a good time. It was a lot of fun.
That's very cool, man. Yeah, I think I saw a post. I want to say it was Nate Gloria, right? Went to Worlds. I think it was from him. Maybe it was somebody else, and it was a pretty killer image, like him just like looking at his boat and just like, you know, shedding a few tears, man. I mean, what an honor, what a privilege. I mean, that's one thing, man. Like, you know, I'll be honest, I'm not a Hobie guy, but like if I were ever to get in a Hobie event, and I'd be going for Worlds, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to be a Hobie to make. That's the beauty behind what Hobie is doing.
Right.
It's not about just Hobie. It's giving guys this chance to come and fish an event. I mean, like, it's amazing how well that those events are run and what they do. And you know, and I mean, can you imagine? You know, there's 50 boats. You know, they're fully rigged. You know, the manpower, the hours it takes to put an event together like that, and you know, the dinners and just everything, man. It's like nothing that you've ever been a part of. And once you get a chance to do one, of course, you want to make it back. But that first one, I think that first one's the one that you'll never forget. Seeing your boat the very first time, you know, it's if that doesn't move you or to, you know, to shed a tear or something, you really didn't need to be there anyway, because
Right.
I don't know anybody that has been that didn't have that feeling. I mean,
Yeah.
because you kind of, it's more than just it's more than just you at that time. You're representing your country,
Right.
your team, because there's it's not just you there. I mean, there were seven or eight of us there this year. There's been more, and it changes from year to year, but yeah, you're representing your team, and it's a big deal, man. It's such an awesome event, and it's open for anybody. You don't have to fish out of a Hobie to qualify. You just got to fish out of a Hobie when for the event. I mean, it's a fully rigged, decked out boat, man, ready to go. I mean, power pole, Lowrance graph. This time we had the live wells in them because we brought our fish in with us.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was really cool.
That's
awesome. That's a new aspect for kayaking for me, is bringing your fish in.
Yeah.
So, and honestly, it's pretty daggum awesome, not having to photograph those fish.
I bet, man.
Yeah, it was good.
That relieves some stress right off the bat,
I got to test out the Cow Coast fishing clipping coils on those yellowfin brim. Man, they worked great, man.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was a cool deal. It was cool to coil your fish.
Yeah.
So it's just a new aspect of it. Yeah, it was awesome.
Very cool. Well, I guess that brings up our last question for this evening. We're talking about Hobie, the new 360 drive. What are your thoughts, man?
Man, I got to spend a little bit of time in it at ICAST. Did some on the water testing with it, and it's man. The first thing I asked, I was like, okay, what's the learning curve? Because I know there's going to be a learning curve to this.
Sure.
And the engineer was there that actually designed this. He said it'll take you about 5 minutes, and he was dead on. Within 5 minutes, man, I was all over the place with that boat and what you can do. I mean, it was. It's really hard to explain the maneuverability of that boat.
Sure.
The funny thing was, I mean, there is not one kayak manufacturer that was not standing there admiring that boat, and because they were all lined up down, down the bank, and you got all these boats, going this way and that way and straight up and down and across, and then you got three 360s out there, and it looks like freaking. What's that? What's them ladies that do that water? The choreography stuff.
I can't think of it.
Boats going and up.
Oh yeah, I know.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like. Where their legs are sticking up and they're all doing the same thing.
I can't think of it.
You got all these boats that are doing the normal stuff.
Synchronized swimming.
Three boats out there doing stuff that a boat ain't supposed to do. Yeah. And everybody's like, just look at that. I mean, and you could, when guys get these and they get out and they start fishing, you literally could put the nose of your boat on a buoy marker, and you could go all the way around that buoy marker and never take your nose off of it.
That's crazy.
So you're saying your Hobie can do rally?
Drift races.
It's a rally boat.
Yeah. Kind of like the one thing that I did catch myself doing when I was pedaling, instead of doing the steering, I was doing the 360 part a little bit more than I probably should have been.
Okay.
So that and you can kind of get a little bit, kind of like sideways a little bit, but you're still kind of going straight. So and that's just that learning curve, it's there's a slight learning curve to it, but yeah, man, if you're fishing somewhere and you're fishing around trees and docks and boat houses and stuff, being able to just move that boat like that, or fishing in current, and oh my goodness, man, it'll change, as well as I do when you're fishing out of a kayak and you're throwing a big crankbait, if you're fishing ledges or offshore stuff, sometimes that wind, you can't, you're at the wind's mercy. You were talking about it earlier. So you might have to fish, a certain way, or not. Maybe you're not bringing it down the ledge. You're having to kind of bring it up the ledge. Well, that's changes now. That's all changes now. And then you got the breakaway fins they introduced. So that's going to be awesome. Yeah, man, they knocked that one out of the park. And there wasn't a boat manufacturer that was standing there watching it and being like, I don't care what anybody says, that's just the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And that's what they were all saying, And there's a lot of, there's so many good boats out there, good kayaks.
Yeah.
Every company makes a good boat. They really do. Every company makes a good boat. It's not about Hobie. It's not about Native. It's not about Jackson or Wilderness Systems. All these companies make great boats. There is a boat for everybody. The 360 is a very expensive boat. It's not for everybody, but there is a market for that boat for certain people.
Sure.
So, but how awesome is that? Think about when this thing really took off. I look back when I got in it in 2013 and where the sport is now and the opportunities with the different boats, price ranges. There's a price range boat for everybody.
Yeah.
That guy that's sitting on the bank fishing now can literally, there's not a store that you can't drive by. Heck, department stores are selling kayaks now.
Yeah.
You see them in these like $200, $300. It might not be the best thing, but at least it gets you off the bank and gets you out on the water.
Absolutely.
So, it doesn't bother me what anybody fishes out of. Man, just go fishing.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Just go fishing and enjoy it. And because at the end of the day, everybody's boat's made out of plastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree. And and I know that obviously Hobie, like the new drive and everything, is a testament to what the industry, like what's happening right now. Like the interest is growing.
Yeah.
There's so many people starting to back it. And I'll even say that I bet Hobie probably would have made, some kind of improvement down the line. But I think the biggest thing was that, they had their drive forever.
Yeah.
And then everybody, like, they were like right here, and then everyone went, hey, what's up? They're like, we got them too now. And then Hobie's like, well, we got this now. What I think is it's just amazing that you can go sideways with that thing.
The engineer said he'd been working on that drive for 6 years.
Yeah.
To get that and the testing that went behind this one, it wasn't just thrown together.
Right.
This is how far ahead that they were actually thinking. And when Hobie's patent ran out on their old drive, the very first, one, and then it hit in the market. Now you're seeing some kayaks that are out there that are using it. And everybody's like, oh, now what are they going to do? It's like, man, that's 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the reason they wasn't worried about it. They're always thinking, and, it makes you kind of wonder, okay, what can they come up with next? Man, I really don't know. We're going to have like dual props. Yeah. Really, like, true. What are they going to do? To make these boats handle better? And it's insane, man. The engineering and the technology and that stuff costs money. And anybody people sit back and that's again, this goes to your keyboard warriors. People will be like, they're type of, there's no way this is worth that. And man, do you know what 6 years of engineering costs? Do you know how much these parts and molds and stuff cost to make and stuff? It's that the guy that's typing that is the same guy that's paying $300-$400 for a reel or $300-$400 for a rod, and it's really it's really what you want.
Yeah.
If it's not a boat for everybody, but it is a boat for some people.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to try that thing out. My buddy Glenn's on the team, and he's like, I'll have one next year. I'm like, I want to try it.
I will say this. There will be some guys that get wet once they get them. They're going to throw themselves out of the boat. It'll happen. Because there's that learning curve. When you turn that drive completely sideways and you go to pedal, if you like how if you're going forward and you just do you just take off really fast, somebody's going to do that sideways and that boat's going to run right out from underneath them. It'll happen. It will happen. That's the reason you got to put it on a wider boat.
Yeah.
You know, the Pro Angler Series. I don't think that they could ever put that in like an Outback, or they might, but it's it needs to be in a wider boat. That's because those fins. I mean, that's a lot. They move a lot of water, man.
Yeah.
And when you can imagine. I mean, as soon as you go sideways, that boat wants to kind of rock with you. So get ready for it, because once they hit the water. There's going to be a few guys. Yep, got to throw down my boat today.
Oh, that's funny.
It'll happen.
I've had trolling motor training, man. I'm good. Like, you ever put that thing to the side, dude, on a little boat, and it's like just flies, and you're like, whoa.
Man, that if you that 403 on the back, man, it makes it feel like it's going to run out from underneath you when you go sideways in a boat. So yeah.
I bet.
That's cool.
That's insane. We got to get some cameras set up the first time Glenn takes his boat out next year.
Oh, I
have a feeling he's going to end up in the drink.
If anybody will, it'll be Glenn.
The 12-footers, that's the one that people, it's a little more tippy than the 14. 14 is not as bad, but that 12, that thing, somebody's going to get wet, sure enough, and it's going to be their fault.
That's awesome.
So maybe they'll put a disclaimer, go watch this YouTube video before you test it.
Pedal sideways at your own risk.
Yeah. Remember, the stickers that they put on the back of the jet skis where you had to turn it the direction.
Yeah.
They didn't put a sticker on the front of the boat.
There's going to be commercials going to be like, remember, 360 isn't for everybody.
That's right.
It's like, you look like a 200 guy to me.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. Well, I think that we're winding down here, man. Again, thank you so much for taking time out to chat with us tonight, man. Why don't you give a shout out to your sponsors, where people could follow you on social media, all that good stuff, man?
I appreciate that. As far as social media, I'm just, Ron Champion. I've got my personal page, and then my fishing page is Ron Champion Professional Angler. I'm on Instagram. I mean, I do it all. Most of my stuff I do through Facebook. Got a little YouTube channel I hadn't done a whole lot with. The stuff I had put out, guys seem to like it. So we're going to I got some filming opportunities coming up. I have a film crew with me next month for 4 days.
Nice.
We're going to start doing some more stuff. I've been lucky to do a lot of filming, and I'm going to start working on that a little bit more. And I'll save everybody the time on all the sponsors, man. I am blessed. I got some really good sponsors behind me, and we won't name all of them, but I'm very fortunate to get to do what I do. Sure am. But I appreciate you guys, having me on. Anytime you got a spot that didn't get filled, just give me a holler, man. We'll jump on here and we'll talk about. Man, maybe we'll talk about vintage fishing lures one day.
Yeah.
I'm a huge collector of vintage fishing lures, man.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've got a pretty wide collection. That stuff all the way back to the late 1800s, a lot of early 1900 stuff.
No way.
Yeah, that's that faith family fishing, baby.
That's awesome, man.
Everything's revolved around it.
Heck yeah. We'll definitely hit you up on that, man.
All right, go.
Again, thank you so much for jumping on here. As always, guys, check out the website. It's paddle, the letter N, and fin.com. If you got a question, comment, want to hear about a future topic, shoot us an email at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Hit us up on social media. Shout out to our supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Coyote Sunglasses, Fish Mob Lure, Southern Lake Co., and Michigan, Ohio Kayak Anglers. And always, guys, don't forget about the Recycled Plastics Program. Take your used, beat-up plastics from this season, put them in a little baggie, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our good man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down into new baits and donates those to Heroes on the Water. So, with that being said, guys, until next time, tight lines and smooth paddle.